I loved it. I really loved it. I loved the fact that there was always, you know, something happening, work. There was always plenty to do. The time flew at work, and it was just interesting. My name's Libby Daly. I'm a local Aboriginal woman. I started with the ALS in July 1994, and at that stage it was the old ALS still up at Arambi, and we had little offices. We had 3 offices in that building. I had a week's training before I went in from Dian Co, and I had qualifications as a admin assistant from TAFE. I was employed as secretary, and we had an office manager and 1 to 2 solicitors at the time and a field officer. When I was employed, pretty much kept the office going while the solicitors were away, and quite often Aggie had to go away. She was the office manager, so a lot of the time I was there by myself, and I suppose it was a lot of responsibility. At that stage, the field officer was Chris Murray, and the solicitors was Raina Pettit. Well, they were on the road constantly because of the circuit we had. Yeah, they had a vast area to cover, and so Raina was virtually on the road every day, and sometimes she had a day in the office if she was doing Cowra Court, but it wasn't very often. We had a database, it was called Q&A, and it was to put all the records on the computer, but it was a pretty old system, and it changed when the new ALS started in 1996. We had a whole new system. With the old ALS, I used to do affidavits, a couple of times interviewed people, and you know, wrote up the affidavits from the beginning, typed them up, and just got them signed. So, yeah, doing a bit of solicitor's work back then. It was just about 98% crime. We did, back in those days, did a bit of civil, victims comp, a few cases I did, and, you know, violence orders. It was situated in a building called Gumbaya, owned by the Land Council on the Young Road, and we moved in 96. Would have been around about October or something, because I was heavily pregnant. And yeah, we went from the old building up at Arambi down there, and there was a lot of changes then. We had to reapply for our jobs, and luckily we got them back. It was run by an organisation called CACMAS. I'm still not sure, something Central Aboriginal Corporation, I don't know, but that was who ran it. And they had an administrator, or whatever her title was, in Wagga, and personally I found it intimidating. They were very strict, and just the whole atmosphere of the place changed. It went from being, you know, a Koori organisation to what didn't feel like a Koori organisation at the time. Well, there was still myself and Chris Murray was the field officer, and then we got a jail support officer. That was the first time we had that position, specifically for jail work, like a field officer for the jails. And my title changed from secretary to admin assistant. They did actually employ second solicitor at the new organisation. His name was Ian Nash, and he stayed there for quite some time. With the old organisation, we had head office in Sydney to get in touch with, and it just changed to Wagga. So, no, I'd say the support was pretty much the same. Yeah, and it just seemed like the workload increased a lot. And I actually studied law there for a year through the Legal Practitioners Admission Board, so I was pretty well up on it. But yeah, it's pretty hard to get to know when you don't know it. Raina, she would be, I don't know, she stands out for her dedication. Well, Agnes, when I first started, you know, she taught me everything about, you know, the ALS and how it worked, and not only that, but everything else. And yeah, she was great. I loved her. I really loved it. I loved the fact that there was always, you know, something happening, work. There was always plenty to do. The time flew at work, and it was just interesting. It was just, you know, it was good to be able to help people. I remember coming down once when I had a lady ring me up. Her son, who was a juvenile at the time, was over at the police station, and this was when I was studying law, and she asked me to come down and sit in on an interview because they wanted to speak to these boys for something, stealing a handbag it was. And I remember sitting over there, and the policeman that was questioning him said he was going to report me to the Legal Practitioners Admission Board because I told this young fella not to say anything, and apparently I wasn't allowed to do that. But and then I said, well, I'm advising me as a cousin, not as an ALS worker, so I don't know. That was one thing.